Okay. Kara, can you see that this is recording today?
Yes, it is.
Saw it,
Is that
yes.
right? Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thanks everyone again for joining. Glad you could all make it. My name's John Kilgour, Grants Contracts Coordinator at the State Library, and I've been kind of our main point of contact for the Hotspot program. So glad you could all come. We've kind of made these meetings a quarterly practice to discuss the program and gather feedback from the libraries. We do have some other state library staff here with us today. Would you all like to please just take a second and introduce yourselves?
Hi, everyone. Kara Orban, State Library.
Pam Henley, Consulting Librarian, State Library.
Suzanne Reimer, Consulting Librarian, State Library.
Suzanne, you have a very nice background today. That's
the crazy mountains.
Nice.
Hi there, my name is Axel, and I'm in charge of the IT department for Dubuque Public Library.
Hi, Axel. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Let's see, I know we've got a fairly large group, but I think we can jump in. I don't think we need to go through introductions for everyone. But thanks, Axel, for introducing yourself. So I have the agenda up on the screen. It's these meetings are intended to be pretty informal, though, so we don't need to follow this in any strict way. Did want to start with a few announcements, just so everyone's aware of certain important program changes and updates. One that I think most of you are probably aware of at this point is that we've created a shared email account for the program, Hotspot support at mt.gov. And we have multiple people monitoring that account. So for typical support and troubleshooting requests, we really encourage libraries to submit your request to that account. We have several staff monitoring it. You've probably heard or gotten responses from Genevieve Lighthizer and Mike Lighthizer. They've jumped in to help out. So we definitely appreciate their help with this program. They've been doing a lot to fill in as needed. We are having a staffing change coming up. Kara Orban, who's here with us today, is going to be taking over management and oversight of this program. I don't know if we really have a hard date yet for when exactly that transition will be finalized, and it'll probably be somewhat gradual over the next several weeks as we transition things from me to her, being the primary person managing the program. But that change is coming, so just so you're all aware, we'll provide more information and details about that and contact information as it's finalized. But that is a significant change that's coming soon to the program. Also wanted to provide an update about funding, and we've received some questions about our funding situation recently. At this point, we have funding secured until the end of 2022, until December 31st of this year. But we are currently working to secure additional funding to extend the program beyond that date. We don't have anything final at this point, but we hope to know within the next few weeks, and we'll notify all of the libraries participating in the program as soon as possible once we do have that information. And then one small sort of technical update I wanted to give everyone has to do with the type of hotspots that T-Mobile is currently providing. Many of you received the Franklin T9 model of hotspot over the last couple of years. T-Mobile no longer provides that type of device, and it's been replaced by the Franklin T10, which some of you have received recently as a replacement device. As far as I can tell, it functions basically the same as the T9, looks very similar. I think the instructions for the T9 apply to the T10 as well. So it should not cause any hiccups that I can tell. But just so everyone's aware, if you request replacements for a T-Mobile device, that is the type of device that you'll be receiving now. So now that the announcements are all out of the way, I think, the way we've done these meetings in the past is just open things up for discussion. So if any of the libraries would like to voice any concerns, ask any questions, provide any feedback, share any successes about things that are going well for your library, we definitely would like to hear those and be able to discuss those.
John, I had a question about the request submission. Is that for like this, if we need to disable a hotspot, we would submit there?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Good question.
excellent.
Yep. So any requests about disabling or then reactivating a hotspot would be best submitted to that shared email account, the hotspot support at mt.gov. If you have a request for accessories, replacement batteries or cables, things like that, those should be sent to that address. Replacement hotspots as well, if you have one return that's damaged, or if one is determined to be lost and your library needs a replacement, that can be submitted to that address as well. And really, honestly, any question can be submitted to that address. It may get forwarded on to someone from there, but as an initial point of contact, that is probably the best place to go. Anything else? Any other questions? Successes, things that have gone well?
Hi, John. Could you just revisit the T9 and T10 conversation? I was getting a message at the same time. And I don't think I heard whether or not they will automatically be replaced, or do we just keep using the T9s as long as they work for us?
That's correct. Yeah, that's a good question. There's no plan to automatically replace any devices that are currently working. And if you have T9 hotspots that are functioning, then there's no need to replace them. But with a lot of the devices, we're approaching 2 years in the program. And so some of the original devices are aging and will probably be in need of replacement soon. If a device is damaged or lost, then the replacement at this point that you'll receive is a T10 instead of the T9. And as I said earlier, it's essentially the same thing. It looks a little bit different, but it works essentially the same way.
Well, here in Whitefish, we have the Verizon hotspots. So if we want to get another one, they actually look like they're in pretty good shape. They don't seem like they're going to age out anytime soon. But when we get a replacement, are we going to get Verizon replacements or Franklin's?
Yep, that's another good question, and should have been a little more clear about that. If you're currently using Verizon devices, they'll be replaced with Verizon. And those are currently the same model of hotspot that Verizon is offering. If you're currently using T-Mobile hotspots, those would be replaced with the newer T-Mobile hotspot. And if you're using one and it's not working well because of service issues or something like that in your area, we can certainly experiment with the other provider and see if it works better. So please just keep us informed. If you're having issues with service and want to try something different, let us know and we can try that out. But yes, essentially the devices you have will be replaced with devices from the same provider.
John, when you say that it doesn't work, what does that mean? For example, I tried using the hotspot with one of our iPads and it said that it was connected, but we still couldn't get to the internet. We actually had to use a different type of hotspot. So are those the things that you're talking about?
Exactly. Sometimes issues like that can be fixed by just resetting the device. And I can, once we're finished here, I'll send some follow-up information with instructions for doing a reset. So that, sorry, I'm just making a note of that. So that is something that could help address a problem like that. Sometimes we found a reset just doesn't work. Sometimes, like any piece of technology, the hotspots just sort of stop working. And so if that's the case, what we generally do is ask the library to return it to us, and then we take a look at it, see if we can fix it. If not, then we can order a replacement for the library. And then one other thing, I think if you do run into an issue like that, where a hotspot just doesn't seem to be working for some reason, please just do contact us. It's possible that it got suspended somehow, maybe accidentally, maybe someone forgot to reactivate it when it was returned, that sort of thing. So those are all things that might cause a hotspot not to work. But we can generally address all of them and either fix it or provide a replacement if needed.
John, I was wondering if it would be possible to have like a landing page on each individual hotspot. The reason why I'm asking it's because I can create like a subdomain for each individual hotspot. So if a patron has an overdue hotspot, then they will see the message saying that.
I'm thinking about your question, Axel. I'm not sure I fully understand the question. A landing page that would be on your library's website or the?
No, not on the one, not on the our website. Like I will create a subdomain on our website. For example, buttpubliclibrary.info/ and the phone number for a hotspot for each individual hotspot. That way, if the hotspot is overdue, then when the patron access to the internet, they will see that landing page and they will see your hotspot, it's overdue.
Okay, I see what you mean. I don't know is my answer at this point. It's something I will look into. I'm just not sure if that's. I think the best, so I'm sorry, but the best I can say now is I'll have to look into that and see if it's possible. I just don't know off the top of my head if there's a way to do that, but it's a good question.
Right, it's like for example, some hotels, you pay for daily use, and once you use all the data or 24 hours after, you will get a message saying that you don't have any data available.
There may be a way, if you go into the admin interface, there may be a way to set a default landing page for each device. But I can't say off the top of my head. I'll need to look into that a little bit. So
Right.
there may be a way to do that, but let me do a little research and I can provide you some information.
Perfect, that would be great. And of course, that this will not stop patrons from using the internet, but at least they will get the message saying like, hey, your hotspot is overdue.
Mhm.
So please return it as soon as possible or renew it.
Yeah, I think if we could make it work, that would be great. a great thing to do and probably save libraries a lot of time and effort emailing or calling patrons about.
Correct, it's correct. It is going to be like a daily message every time when they access to the internet. So yeah, that'll be awesome.
Okay, well, let me look into that and I'll follow up with you.
Thank you.
Yep. Looks like Kara posted a question in the chat. Does your ILS send notifications to patrons for overdue items?
Guess that's a question for Axel. If the hotspot is overdue, are they getting a notice like they would for a late book or something like that?
We call them. They don't receive notifications. I mean, if a patron needs to return an in-library loan, we'll just call them. We don't even send them emails.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Okay. Looks like there's a question from Jody. Is there anything we can do to help secure funding for the program? That's a great question. I'm not sure. That's something I can ask Jenny about that. I think, you know, we certainly love to have feedback about the program, positive or negative. And positive feedback is very helpful to have. But let me ask about that and see if I can provide a little more direction for you. Looks like we have a question from Carmen. In general, when do libraries turn off service to overdue hotspots? That's a very good question. I guess I can give you what we've recommended, but then it would be great to hear from other libraries to see what everyone's doing and see what's worked well for them. Basically, the state library has suggested a 3-day grace period for an overdue hotspot. And if it's not returned within the 3-day period, then we encourage you to contact us to have the service suspended. And hopefully that will encourage the patron to return it. I think my suggestion would be to contact us as soon as possible. I think if the device is overdue and the 3 days have passed, if we can shut it off as soon as possible at that time, I think we generally see better results with them getting returned. If they're overdue for an extended period, I think our chances of having them return are reduced significantly. Looks like Rachel says she gives them a call after a few days overdue. If they go past a week, she has them turned off.
Hi, everyone. This is Jonna Underwood, Sheridan County Library, and I was kind of hoping I could get some collective thoughts sort of related to Carmen's question. We have 3 patrons who consistently check out our hotspots, and they're consistently late every single time. And so I usually end up sending John an email requesting the hotspots be suspended. And it's just kind of an endless cycle with these particular patrons, and it's getting to be kind of annoying managing this. What do the rest of you do as far as, you know, managing, I guess, problem patrons, managing the constant, you know, turnover, having to contact John, reinstating? What do the rest of you do? Because we're getting a little tired of it, kind of wearing out from that.
This is Yvonne from Rosebud County Library. Our library, if you go over a week due, you get permanently suspended from ever checking out a hotspot again. And that resolved a lot of our problems of just If you can't respect the rules, you're out.
Yeah, this is Mallory from North Lake County Public Library. We're kind of doing a graduated thing. If we need to shut it off with the state, they lose privileges for 30 days. Second offense would be 60 days and so on. So far, the people that have lost privileges have not returned to get another hotspot. They're not showing back up.
This is Axel, and we do the same as Mallory.
Well, those are good suggestions. Thank you. I think I will start planning something very similar to that then. Thank you.
We actually made a contract and we go through the contract with them for them to sign it. And it states that if they do not return the hotspot, then they can never use it again. And we've not had any problems with anybody not returning it on time. We also attached a $300 fine to it if it's late. So they bring it back pretty quickly.
Lori, I'm sorry, what library do you work at?
The Dillon Public Library.
Dillon, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm used to seeing Lori Roberts in your
Yeah, it
email
changed.
address. Yeah, okay. Now I got it. Thanks. Well, thanks everyone. Those are good suggestions. We don't, the state library doesn't ask for any kind of reimbursement or anything like that for lost hotspots. So, but we do have a budget for replacing them. So please, if they go missing or are return broken or anything like that, please let us know and we can provide a replacement. Looks like kind of a question from Starla. What is the cost per T-Mobile hotspot after end date? I can send out some information about that to everyone. And we sent out some follow-up information after our January meeting, which discusses and I'm putting that up on the screen now. It discusses the monthly rates and the costs of replacements and things like that. For T-Mobile, the rate that we're charged is $29.75 per month, plus some various fees. So it comes to about $29.92 per month for each device. I think there are some important caveats to add to that. So that's the pricing that we have access to through the state's contract with T-Mobile. That also gives us access to certain plans with certain amounts of data, certain types of devices, things like that. My understanding is that local governments, counties, cities, so on and so forth, and I think this would apply to most public libraries, have the ability to utilize that state contract to get similar rates and plan options. But there are some requirements that need to be met. So a local government, for example, would need to have an MOU in place with the state in order to access that contract. That's something we can assist with if libraries are interested in pursuing that. But basically what I've been asked to do by the State Procurement Bureau is refer questions about those contracts to them. And so I'll send this out after the meeting, but this email address here, coop.purchasing@mt.gov, and I can put that in the chat as well, is the best contact to ask about utilizing those contracts with Verizon or T-Mobile. So I hope that answers your question. It's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, Starla, but basically the price ideally for you would be about $30 per month for T-Mobile for each device. Looks like just kind of returning to the last topic briefly, Starla says she's pretty flexible about late. If they return it in poor condition or missing parts, they don't get another one. And sounds like you're starting to work on budgeting. So yeah, and as I said earlier, hopefully we'll know within the next few weeks if we have the funding to continue the program after December 31st. So we'll definitely notify everyone as quickly as possible. And Mary drew that follow-up document. I will send that. After this meeting, I'll send a bunch of follow-up information addressing these questions, and I'll include the follow-up one from January's meeting as well. No problem. Okay, well, if people have other observations or questions that they want to discuss, please feel free to bring them up anytime. I think I'll just move on to some of the other agenda items. So one thing that I just sort of wanted to gather some feedback about is the patron survey that we've been using. And these questions haven't changed much over the last couple of years, so there may be a need to refresh them a little bit. But kind of what spurred this question for me was just some questions we've received from libraries recently, asking for a little more granular information to see if there's a way to know how many individuals in a household might be using a hotspot, or how many computers might have connected to a hotspot, and so on and so forth. So this is the survey that we're currently using, asking a few questions of the patron, whether or not they have internet service in their household, what they've used the hotspot for, if they plan to borrow one again, if they had any issues while using it, and how they learned about the hotspot. And then there's kind of a space for them to provide any kind of open-ended feedback that they'd like to. So I guess I'm just curious, do any libraries see a need to add additional questions? I think this would be something we need to discuss a bit internally too, and decide if we wanted to change this. But if there are suggestions, we will definitely consider them. And I don't know if libraries have developed any surveys of their own either, where they're asking different questions, but it'd be interesting to hear from everyone.
Is this survey on Aspen so we can print it off?
This survey is on, I believe it is on Aspen. It's also on the state library website. So if you go to our homepage, and this is our new website. I don't know if you've all seen it yet, but we recently redesigned our website. So things look a little bit different, but the link to the hotspot program is right here. And then this first link, circulation, evaluation, check-in, etc. If you go here at the bottom of the page, we have an English version and a Spanish version in PDF form. And there's also a link to an online form for the survey.
So I have surveys from when our hotspot program started. and I don't know who to send them to.
You can send them to me. I guess you could do a couple of things, and it's totally up to you. But one thing you could do, if you or your staff are able to, is just enter the information into the online form, and then that would be submitted to us. But you're also welcome to just mail the hard copy surveys into us, and we can enter the information. Either way would be fine. Let's see, there are a couple of comments in the chat. Carmen says the survey is great as is, especially since there is opportunity for open-ended comments. She's sharing feedback from March and April with her library trustees next week. Okay, thank you, Carmen. Jody says, I like the idea of how many individuals utilize the device. We count this as one circulation, but it is interesting to note if it was used by a family of 4 or a class at a park, etc. And you have staff input each paper survey online. Okay, thanks, Jody. Rachel asks, if we get paper surveys back, is it okay if we enter it online? Yes, definitely. And Suzanne says, yes, please. But yes, it definitely saves time for us. So if you or your staff have the time for that, it's definitely appreciated. Okay, so it sounds like it might be worth considering just asking how many people in the household use the hotspot, something like that. But it sounds like overall everyone's happy with the survey and what's being collected from it.
John, one of my staff members just asked me that on the new hotspot that you sent us, in the older ones, there was a SIM card there that we popped out and we put into, and the new one did not have a SIM card with it. Is that correct?
It should be installed already.
Okay, that's what she was wondering.
Yep, it should be installed. And basically what I've been doing as we've been replacing, it's a little, the replacement process is a little more complicated, I think, than when you initially receive the hotspots, because we need to activate the new hotspot on the same phone number as the old one. And so it involves a little bit of work with the provider and a little bit of testing to make sure it works. So basically, once you get the hotspot, the SIM card should be in it and it should be activated and should be ready to use. So hopefully that's the case. But if you receive any and they're not working for some reason, definitely let us know. Okay. One other request I wanted to make is about any hotspots that aren't getting used. And we review the data usage every month. And that is posted in Aspen. And actually, now that I think of it, that is something I wanted to ask everyone about. So in Aspen, and I can include a link to this with all the follow-up information as well. We create and post the data usage reports every month. And so for each provider, Verizon, Neiman, or T-Mobile, we post the monthly data usage on each hotspot. And let me try to access one of these. So if you weren't previously aware of this, this could be really helpful for you. So basically you can find your library and then find each hotspot and see how much data was used on that in a given month. I guess my question is, or not really a question, but just a request or something to consider, is if you find that your library has devices that aren't being used, there just doesn't seem to be interest in your community for checking them out, or they're going unused for some reason, we do ask that you consider returning them to us. There are libraries, I think, where they're still in very high demand, and those libraries may like to have additional devices. And then there's also a need to use them for replacements when devices go missing. So just kind of a request. No one needs to answer now. Not trying to put anyone on the spot, but if your library happens to have hotspots that aren't getting used or just aren't getting used very much, we do ask that you consider returning them to us, and we can reallocate them to different parts of the state.
Yes, please. Our tech librarian has renamed our cupboard for hotspots the cupboard of disappointment. We have so many people asking for them, and we don't have them to give. They're all on hold.
Thanks, Mallory. John is asking about data usage. Good question. She's asking, is the data unlimited each month, or is there a certain amount that can be used each month? Basically, it's unlimited. With T-Mobile, it should be unlimited on every device. With the T9s, and I'm assuming with the T10s, it may be necessary for you to log in to the admin interface on the device and do a little adjusting and resetting of the data limit. But as far as what's allowed under the plan goes, there is no limit on the data. And I'll include, again, the follow-up from January's meeting has some instructions about resetting the data limit on the T-Mobile Franklin hotspots. So that's something to consider with those. With Verizon, there also should not be a data limit, and there shouldn't be anything you need to do on any Verizon hotspot. Technically, in the fine print on the contract, there is some language in there about throttling the data if it exceeds a certain threshold for 3 consecutive months. But we've been told by Verizon that that happens very rarely, and we have not encountered it so far. So I think with Verizon, it's safe to say it's unlimited. And then I know, Johnny, your library has a few Nemot devices. I believe it's unlimited with those, but the data speed may be throttled if the data usage exceeds a certain point each month. But let me double check on that for you, and I'll follow up with you afterwards. Okay, I guess another quick topic I wanted to address was ordering hotspot accessories. I think a lot of libraries have been doing this or have ordered some before, but basically we do have a budget for providing cases and then replacement items like replacement batteries, replacement chargers, replacement cables, so on and so forth. I did include with this meeting invitation an order form for requesting accessories. And I think it's pretty straightforward. If you have a need for something, please just fill this out and return it to the program email hotspotsupport@mt.gov. And we'll get those as soon as possible. it may not be it may not be instant on the accessory orders. We may wait to collect a few and place a larger order rather than multiple small ones, but we'll order accessories on a fairly regular basis and get those to libraries as quickly as possible. Couple things that I just wanted to briefly explain is if you need if you're in need of a replacement charger or cord, we are not able to order those as single units. We need to order the cables separately from the wall adapter. So if you have like a Franklin T9, for example, and the charging cable gets broken, the original cable is a single piece, the wall adapter plus the cord. But the replacements are only available as separate pieces. So in that case, it would be necessary to indicate that you need a new cable as well as a new adapter. So just something to be aware of. And then another thing I wanted to mention with the Franklin T10s, I've had trouble finding replacement batteries for those. I think it may just be because they're a new model and there just aren't a lot of replacement batteries on the market yet. So we don't, I haven't been able to find any yet, but we'll keep looking. And hopefully at this point, those devices are new enough that you won't need any replacement batteries for a bit. But we'll be looking for those and we'll provide them as soon as we can. We've already looked at it, but again, just wanted to remind everyone that we have a lot of resources on our website, including the survey, but also a lot of templates for developing policies for hotspots, for promoting hotspots, things like that. There's a lot of troubleshooting information. So please, if you haven't already, please take a look at our dashboard. There's a link to the dashboard as well. With a lot of, this is where all the survey information ends up actually. So it's a lot of really interesting information and definitely worthwhile checking that out. So if you haven't already, please keep in mind that that information is all there. And I think that was it. I don't know if anyone from the state library wanted to add anything or make any other announcements. But if there are further questions from any of the libraries, other topics you'd like to discuss that we haven't gotten to yet, please feel free to bring those up, or please feel free to just email us afterwards with any questions. Okay. Well, hearing none, I think we can go ahead and conclude for today. But thanks again, everyone, for joining, and thanks very much for being a part of the program. I think we feel that it's been very successful, and we're really happy with how it's turned out. And so, thank you all for your support and the work that you've put into this program.
John, I just want to say it's been a pleasure to work with you. You've been wonderful as we've all figured out how this would work and had issues along the way. I really appreciate all you've done. You'll be missed.
Well, thanks, Jody. I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be at the state library, but we'll be gradually stepping away from the hotspot program. But thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I will send the follow-up information, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.